don't know. We've seen an influx with Neomed. A lot of the students are like renting our apartments over here, like and they say, so usually Kent stays in Kent. We don't have any student housing in Brimfield other than our apartments, and they're going for $1,500 a month. Our Redwood is going to 3,000, and we're finding out that a lot of the students from Neomed are like 2 to 3 of them, and then pay $1,000 a month and stay in the night.
Those 2 bedrooms.
The Redwoods are 2 bedrooms. Yeah. Some of them are 3 or right. Oh, Redwood. Yeah. They're popular as heck.
Well, like most areas, housing
Right. How are you? Good. What's up, Vince?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
I forgot your.
Is that guy a friend of yours or no? Who you sent me to for the?
It was at the meeting.
Yeah.
His wife is our mail carrier,
Oh, is she?
and I saw her, and she said he wanted. I said, well, I'll send this thing in if he gives it to me.
Right now we don't have anything, but
No,
I don't know what's going on with William.
Yeah, I told him that, but I said I'll turn it in. And
We'll probably give William another year and see what happens. But he hasn't been able to make it for a while. So.
yeah, I haven't heard anything about him. So
Yeah, he hasn't emailed us or nothing. Maybe with the whole COVID thing, something's going. I don't know. I'll email him.
he's still living in town, I hope.
Well, he was a developer at one time.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
I pulled into town hall.
Oh.
I see all this construction equipment, no cars, and get low before. So I go to the door and I see across the street from the tap, it's 41 something. I think, well, that's okay. So I pull it there, and that place was dead. And I'm in the road, so then I called office numbers. I said, where is this place?
Yeah, this is our temporary, unfortunately. We'll be back at town hall when they finish it, but
It's a nice place.
it's back here.
Yeah. It's not, doesn't have too many lights around, so it's hard to.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing?
Good, you?
Hey, I'm living the dream. That's always a challenge to figure out where you. Luckily, I came in, I saw mine right away.
Musical chairs.
Usually I'm down there.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you?
They have you close to the teacher. You must have misbehaved or something.
Must be. I just follow style.
Come on in.
Hey, how's it going? Uh,
I know he did, he said. Get this one. It's good that you gotta keep going. And then get about 10 minutes. Clayton says he's on his way, so he's gonna make it nice.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of the devil, here he is.
Hey,
Oh,
good, how you been?
oh. Crazy,
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. Where do you sit?
you're right there.
You're at the head of the,
I am. I'll break it out again.
I haven't seen it.
It's a long time.
It's been a long time, you're right. How you been?
I am working like a fool. Just absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. This guy probably didn't remember who I haven't seen him in so long.
You remember him?
I'm not real sure. Are you on this board? I haven't gotten fired officially yet, but I'll talk to Mike after the meeting and see how this goes.
How you doing? So what you been up to?
I'm doing loan closings,
Oh, so,
and I'm doing 7 to 10 a day, every day. And I'm all over every day, everywhere. I mean, my wheels don't stop.
oh boy.
Residential or?
Yeah. Some commercial, residential, new constructions, you name it. And I am covering Northeast Ohio every day. From first thing in the morning to last thing at night. And I'm all over everywhere.
Good.
Thank goodness for updated GPSs that work really good. Because boy, I need them badly. When they taking down the house?
Which
Next to-
one?
Next to the fire station.
Oh, that should be really soon.
Yeah,
I was just talking about it, I think in the next couple of weeks.
I'm glad we picked that up. That was a good move.
That was a good move.
Yeah, that was a good
It
move.
needed to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked to Sue a little bit. I ran into her at Walgreens.
Did you?
Yeah, a few days ago. We were talking about it.
She's busy. She's getting all the Thanksgiving packages for everybody together.
Very good.
The thing Meyer is, they sent 6 employees to the food cupboard. So they're like all volunteering. They donated a ton of money. So Meyer's been a good partner.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
Still a lot of families in need. It's surprising. There's so many jobs out there.
Tons of them.
Shows how you guys busy. You guys just busy though? You know, the new thing. I've talked to him about 8 months now, so I don't reach out to her.
Turnover.
Yeah. She's staying pretty steady. She doesn't move around as much.
I told you she took over as head of department and left town. Both people that were also in that department also left. So 2 new people here the past 6, 8 weeks. I just started. The department, it's had the most turnover since I've been there.
Yeah.
So many people that do, I don't know what it is about that department.
Wow. Just planning in general. Always aggressively green. Yeah, it could be. Get trained to get some experience and do it.
They go.
Yeah. That's what they do. Oh, it's crazy.
How's it going? Good.
How's he doing?
I think they.
No, and there's only 5. They used to Bruce's or wings.
So they've carried the quick and but still. Okay, hands for you come out long time. Still can't do it. Before I had him out in the closet, with gas on. But it was like 18 months ago.
We supposed to stand up and salute or what?
No, I took my notification at 7 o'clock. I think that was what that was. I don't know. Yeah, that's all it was.
I figured
The meeting
that.
just started.
Okay.
Okay. All right, it is 7 o'clock. I would like to call the Brimfield Township Board of Zoning Appeals for November 17th to order. Okay, could please have a roll call.
Bruce Wittenberg,
Here.
Scott Etling.
Here.
Vince Bradako,
Here,
Ed Shooty, Sean Phillips.
Here.
Lynn Kramer,
Here.
and Clayton Potter.
Here.
Also present is Economic Development Director and Zoning Inspector Mike Ladd, myself, Lauren Kaufman, Zoning Secretary, and Brian Gardner, Brimfield Township IT Director. And Clayton, you will be a voting member tonight.
All right, we have minutes for September and October.
We're gonna ask that those be done in December, because Laura just got back from
Okay. so
her surgery,
move
so,
those to-
yeah.
We have a motion then. Move
Yeah, just move those till December 15th.
I make a motion that we table them till the next meeting.
them. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table the minutes to the next meeting. Roll call, please.
Bruce Wittenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling.
Yes.
Vince Bradako.
Yes,
Sean Phillips.
Yes.
Clayton Potter.
Yes. So we have a current agenda. Everybody notified?
Yes.
And no changes. There. All right. I believe there are copies of the agenda on the table if you need one. Also, if you're planning on speaking this evening, there's a sign-in sheet. So we have an agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the agenda. Have a roll call, please.
Bruce Wittenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling. Vince Bradako.
Yes,
Sean Phillips.
Yes.
Clayton Potter.
All right. At this point, we have, I'd like to swear in any of the applicants or people making comments this evening. So anyone that is, if you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give before this board is to the best of your knowledge an accurate, and truthful presentation of the facts. If so, say I do. In turn, state your name and which of the cases relationship to it today.
I do, Frank Arthur, related to the Hawkins brothers.
Okay.
Jerry Hawkins as well.
Matt Carpenter, Jarrett Companies.
William Hawkins. All right here.
All right, thank you. So the first item on the agenda is a conditional use applicant continued from last month. Applicants are Jerry and William Hawkins. This is at 4663 State Road 43, Kent, Ohio. And it's a conditional use request. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to keep a residential structure with a house-based business in the general commercial district. This is covered under zoning resolution section 52006. Non-conforming use of a building, structure, or land shall not be changed or substituted to another non-conforming use unless the Board of Zoning Appeals decides that the proposed non-conforming use is in less conflict with the character and use of the applicable zoning district than the existing non-conforming use. In permitting such changes, the Board of Zoning Appeals may require appropriate conditions and safeguards in accordance with other provisions of this resolution. Okay, Mr. Zoning Inspector?
Yeah, I mean, you guys table, or actually continued it onto this meeting, as you know, that's a general commercial district, which, supermarket, farmer's market would be approvable if that's the only use they were going into under general commercial. Then obviously you'd have the building set up for that use. The applicant is looking to keep this as a rental house. They're going to rent the house and put a farmer's market out front.
Did we get an answer back from the police department?
No, I have not gotten any.
You're liable to speak.
Of course.
I'm the landlord, and, anyway, I had the benefit of looking at the prior two hearings on YouTube and whatnot, and I believe that what this is boiled down to, it's fair to say, is the concern of safety for any additional traffic that may be generated on State Route 43 to 5 Main Highway. At the last hearing, after the discussion, I was surprised that the comment was made, Jerry Hawkins had discussed apparently with Value Max running through their parking lot as an alternate entrance to the proposed farm market. And that came as a bit of a surprise to me. In any event, I've spoken to my insurance agent, and he indicated to me that based on the liability concern, cars traveling through an occupied used car lot, he didn't think that was such a good idea. But that being said, and not to jump around unduly, with respect to the chief of police, I had occasion to speak to Chief Mosley on Thursday, November 11th, and I showed him pictures of the area of the traffic. State Route 43 and Howe Road, I've got 6 of them that I'll pass out to the board immediately. And he really didn't comment on that, but what he did after looking at those, we were standing in the lobby, he was in a rush, and after looking at those, he said to me that he had no particular feeling one way or another, but if the board or the zoning department needed something from him, they should contact him, or possibly, you mentioned Mike's name, he would contact
I have not.
Mr. Ladd, so I don't know if he did.
No, and we were at the trustee meeting together. We sit next to each other this morning. I have no comments.
Well, this was on the 11th, so.
I'm saying this morning too. I just seen him as early as today. I have no comments from him.
But I mean, I guess at some time, please. So in any event, he said that the only thing that he could do would be provide accident statistics for that particular area. But without rambling around too much, just to make sure that we're all coordinated as to what's being discussed, I've got pictures of the overhead. I don't have enough to. Well, sure. Show that. An overhead of State Route 43 and Holland Road. And then another concern expressed was visibility. And this is, I got these off of Google, so surreptitiously made, it's just what I was able to get on Google. This is a picture of visibility from Kent to Brimfield. The house is right there, but it shows, I think it's fair to say, significant visibility of the property. And these are the pictures that
Yeah, we're gonna need some for the record too as well.
and then this is visibility from the south. And Brimfield, the houses on the left-hand side of the picture. Keeping out. In fairness, I think not just for the benefit of the Hawkins brother, but I think parents can say that couldn't really ask anything to be disputed, but we couldn't ask for much more visibility. This is a picture across the street showing the parking lot. The parking lot on the right that was previously installed before the house was residential.
So, and I don't know what has changed. I mean, you came to the board, this is the second, actually third appearance, the first time I was turned down. What has changed from the initial one? Because what they described, I thought was changed is that they were gonna go through the neighboring property.
No, that just came up the last year.
So what is the difference in the initial?
Well, we can do a drive if necessary. At the last hearing, what was boiled down to, what I heard, watching it very carefully, this is parking lot, or this is a picture of the parking lot from Florida. What the thing came down to was concerns about safety. From State Route 43, and the suggestion is, I don't know if we have a question. The suggestion, and this is the final one. The suggestion was that traffic be redirected from State Route 43 to Howell Road to enhance safety. Well, the reality is I started thinking about that. And from a financial standpoint, this makes no difference to me because the Hawkins brothers have indicated that they like living there in his grandfather's house, and they're going to stay regardless. So, but it's just the reality of the situation. In any event, the suggestion was made to redirect traffic from State Route 43. This picture on Google is too big for one thing. Right. But it's all taken at the same time, so there's no tricks here. I looked at the date on that, and it was taken in 2019. Anyway, it shows 43 at the time that Google happened to come along and take the picture. It shows the traffic on 43, which by happenstance is a little bit right. And it shows traffic backed up on Howell Road in front of the entrance through Value Max. Value Max even has a sign requesting that people don't block the drive because the traffic were redirected to Howell Road. It would turn the corner off of 43, turn the corner, and then it couldn't get in to the driveway in any event. The other thing that, in thinking this through, that clicked in my mind was that to redirect traffic for purposes of their fruit market, there would have to be a sign that would say, please enter on Howell Road. Well, the problem with that is that the most common accidents, and I did a little investigation as far as.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the very first time we came here, I don't see the difference, and that's where I'm getting confused. Like the first time I was turned down, you guys came into the office and said it was misrepresented. You have a totally different layout of what's going to happen.
No, the first one was misrepresented. What I said, their application was completely inaccurate when they turned it in. And I think there was some question as to permitted use or conditional use. And it's clearly what they're requesting is that they be allowed to utilize a
Non-conforming use.
for basically general commercial, it's a permitted use.
So let's not get confused. So a permitted use is something that comes into my office that's listed in the book. That's a permitted use. This grocery store, anything like that would be a permitted use I would approve in my office. This is non-conforming residential structure with a farmer's market, which is a conditional use here.
Okay, well, the zoning resolution provides that cooperation between developers, in this case, the Hawkins brothers, and the zoning department for the betterment of the area and in the interest of what's in the best interest of Brimfield Township, which the zoning resolutions talk about agricultural use and the township heritage. So these gentlemen, I mean, I don't think anything, and what's healthy for the general populace. And I think a fruit and vegetable stand couldn't be healthier, couldn't be more agricultural, couldn't be closer to using a farm than a permitted use. So
So you're getting that confused once again. Agricultural permit is something that I approve in my office. You could apply for an agricultural use permit, have a farmer's market. That's allowed all the way throughout. As long as you got more than 5 acres, it's usually approvable. If it's contiguous.
Well, quite frankly, Mike,
Thank you.
I don't understand existence. I really don't.
Because it's not my approval, it's the board's approval. That's why you're
Well,
here.
okay, so it's clear that there's a bit of concern on your part, but if.
My concern is coming here if you didn't change anything and you got the same.
Well, on the application.
Same thing
we
again.
can put, as far as change, if that's mandatory, if the board feels that that's necessary, we can put a drive between the parking lot and a long driveway there to enhance turnaround for this farm market. Now, quite frankly, I don't really see the point of that, but if the board wanted it, say what it is, that'll be done. That's no big shakes, but I just don't understand it's a use. And the other thing too, Mr. Ladd, was that I wrote a letter to you and to the coordinator with the zoning department and said if there's an absolute objection to this, if the board is going to turn it down under any and all, then let us save the Hawkins brothers another $250 because they've already thrown $500 at this. Not that should have any direct bearing.
It doesn't have a bearing at all.
No, but all I'm saying is that after the first hearing, I made that request. I never got a written response to that letter for whatever that's worth. So I assumed that we would go by what was being presented at the board at the last hearing.
I think you came in the office and I said, your next avenue, if you didn't like this decision, is take it to the courts.
Well,
You decided to come back here, and that's fine. You said you had changes, and I says, okay, as long as you got changes, you could apply again. I just don't see them.
well, again, with the driveway, we put the driveway in between the parking lot and the driveway. At the last hearing, what was stated at the hearing by the board was concerns over safety. And after I saw that, I went out and got the pictures off of Google to see what the problem was. And I was looking for research on the safety of a 5-lane highway. Best I could come up with is this report, it's an evaluation of road diet projects of 5-lane and larger roadways. In any event, it wasn't directly on point, but the gist of the research that is closest on point was that what makes a 5-lane highway enhance safety is a turn, is a whole turn lane, which is exactly what this highway has. It's 5 lanes all the way from the Brimfield Township limit through south through State Route 18. It was built by the state of Ohio relatively recently for high traffic, this farm market, as far as using 30 acres, couldn't generate much less traffic than anything else. When you think about it, what I'm saying is, by a greater amount of development, it would create a whole lot more traffic. The biggest danger on highways such as this is rear-end collisions. What was stated at the last hearing was a suggestion that traffic be redirected to Howe Road, and when I knew that out, at least in my mind, when I thought about people slowing down to read a sign that says go to Howe Road and turn the corner, it seemed to me that people slowing down would tend to generate more traffic accidents than simply getting the turn lane with a traffic brake and turning the property. So, quite frankly, coming here today, I figured if that issue could be resolved with the board, with any luck, knock on wood, how things could get their conditional use. And, so I'll shut up now. Appreciate whatever consideration you give to this.
So how much land is there?
How much land? 30 acres.
And is the 30 acres being farmed?
I'm sorry.
Is the 30 acres being
No,
farmed?
approximately 15 acres by so far along.
And that's the product that they'll be selling.
In part,
Right, and they were planning on bringing product in
correct.
from off-site as well. Okay. The biggest thing that I mean, aside from the fact that originally we discussed, the traffic pattern on 43, pulling into a drive, the fact that it, I think the agricultural route at the time I mentioned it, but it either did or didn't qualify. I'm not fond of the fact that we're just talking about putting tables out, making it, as opposed to a stand or a building that's going to house the market, as in a grocery store. I mean, that's what the general commercial district is intended for. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, as opposed to just setting up tables every morning, putting your produce out, then at the end of the day, and then ready to take it all back inside somewhere, pull out all the tables, and this is what we've been told they're planning on doing.
That's right.
I would find it more conducive to the manual, to the general commercial area, if it were actually a structure that were going to be built to house this market. And even if it was just in an agricultural instance, when you get a permit for that, you still have to put up a stand of some kind. You're not just going to put a table on the street and sell the produce off the table.
I can't speak for Lockwood, but I think they would certainly be more than happy to put up a structure that's a little bit nicer than a table, if that would satisfy the board. I don't think that would be a problem at all.
No, that's what I have, I'm sure for a week.
I mean, I'm thinking that
And the other thing I would say
because
is
we're looking at trying to go more towards, since it's a non-conforming use, we don't want to expand the non-conforming use. Putting tables out there would be akin to a driveway.
yeah, but that's if the residence is grandfathered. So
Yes, I understand that.
okay, so the it's a bit of a gray area, but the Ohio Revised Code section, I think it's 519.19, provides that if the extended use enhances the purpose of the zoning, it's allowable tentatively. And there's also some language that things shouldn't be turned down based on personal taste. Quite frankly, there's a lot of things that, there's some cars I like, some cars I don't like. But, it's the overall purpose, again, the thrust of what the Hawkins brothers want to do is to use it for agricultural purposes. They wanna, set up a farm market that would benefit.
What's stopping from going after an agricultural permit?
Well, I don't think that's relevant right now for purposes of this hearing.
But I'm just saying, if you wanted to use it for, I have like 3 of them in right now that have more than 5 acres that they're using their land for.
I don't know, but, you know, I mean, we keep expanding, like, this is the 3rd hearing,
Uh-huh.
you know, okay.
Well, yeah, but
You know,
based off of what you're
let-
describing us is a agriculture, you keep saying agricultural permit, but there is no agricultural
No, I
permit
didn't
on
say
that.
agricultural permit. When I was requesting on behalf of the Hawkins gentleman, brothers, was a permitted use. They want to set up a fruit stand.
Permitted use would be something in the GC district, which is not a residential structure,
Well, the
non-conforming.
residential structure has been grandfathered in.
It's a non-conforming use. There's no such thing as grandfathering. It's non-conforming use.
Well,
So what he's saying is, if they were to put up a building, a grocery store,
We can
Market.
approve.
you would actually be moving in the proper direction towards making it a conforming use.
This is moving in the direction to making it a
But
conforming.
again,
The property.
to me, I think the simplest solution is, I mean, if you have more than 5 acres, you're allowed an agricultural permit. Now that doesn't even come to this board.
Well, here's the thing. If it was not gonna be allowed, if they would have been told that last time around, that's one thing. But the last hearing, this is the 3rd hearing now, this hearing right before this, and I don't know if this is on videotape or not.
It is.
But, okay, the last hearing, and you can check it out, it was made very clear that the big problem was traffic safety. And the final suggestion, I mean, it wasn't any of the rest of the stuff, and in fact, at that time, it was accepted that the residents, I think this is fair to say, there wasn't any resistance, big resistance to residents. It's, oh yeah, under the zoning resolution 520.06, we can extend it, we can allow it, because it's agricultural in nature, the proposed use. The only problem from the last hearing, the 2nd hearing, the only problem was that there was a safety consideration. And then the suggestion was made to get a letter from Value Max saying that people could drive through, could drive through the driveway. That's what was said, okay. And from a liability standpoint, and also from a practical standpoint, looking at the pictures, that just wouldn't enhance safety, wouldn't be safer. And then the Hawkins brothers were told, well, go talk to the chief of police because we have a real concern, so we need feedback from Chief Mosley, the chief of police, concerning safety concerns. And I know that Hawkins brothers told me that they called the police department, and the lady there said nothing like that has ever been asked of us. We don't feel we have expertise, and basically they were blown off. I mean, nicely, they were. The chief just didn't know what was being asked for, and that was. I said, well, I said to Hobson, let me talk to him. Let me see what he has to say. And as I represented to the board on the 11th, this is the 17th, so 6 days ago, I popped in on Chief Mosley. He did me the courtesy of coming out. He looked at the pictures. He wasn't going to get in the middle of anything. He asked me what my position was, and I said it was fine with me. And he said, I don't know what I can do about it. He said, I don't have any real position on it. He said, if the board wants some information, they can contact me, or Mike Glad can contact me, or I can provide the board with traffic accident information. I mean, that was, from the last hearing, that was the, what it was left with, and And Mr. Ladd, quite frankly, I didn't anticipate all this, what I would say renewed existence, but if it's mandatory that there be a change, I think it's more than reasonable. This is just a silly little farm market.
Well,
Just let me finish, please.
Sure.
Silly little farm market. There's obviously, they don't have the money to build a building at this juncture. They don't have the wherewithal to pursue it further in accordance with the zoning resolutions, not to hash and rehash, but the thrust of Brimfield Township is to maintain the agricultural heritage, the rural atmosphere. I mean, I don't see how a farm market, how anything more, a farm market could be more conducive to agricultural use and to the heritage of Brimfield Township, so on and so forth. So, and from a technical standpoint, if a driveway needed to be placed in there, fine, then I would assume the developer will cough up the wherewithal to put in the driveway. So,
the reason for me saying, is there a change in the use, is because this was turned down at this board before. The next, what is per our zoning resolution, the next appeal process is the court system, not to come back to the board with the same exact plan.
So, and just a little change on your timeline. Beginning in the first meeting, it was suggested that they look into making it, going the agricultural route, getting a permit, agricultural permit, but I didn't know how much land they had. And I don't think they could answer that question at the time. And then, excuse me, 1 minute. It was at that meeting that we expressed safety concerns. If Mr. Hawkins come in then at the last meeting and said, and I believe this was the change that they inferred to Mr. Ladd, that they had spoke with their neighbors and had gotten permission to use their parking lot. All we did, and then at that point, we didn't suggest it. All we said was, well, we would need proof that they're willing to let you use the parking lot. And that's why we were continued to deny it. That's the only reason that we're really here on this particular issue. But in the fact that it's a non-conforming use, and if you're going to put something in, you either need to put in a grocery store or a farmer's market, a structure that's going to house it, or you need to go the agricultural route. That's my opinion on it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I would agree. No, and we basically have the same safety concerns that we had before. This picture in particular, you're going to have a capacity on your existing lot as far as how many cars you can have on there. So if somebody pulls down this driveway for whatever reason, unless you have some kind of designation saying, don't go down there, you're going to run into a quick traffic jam here. So they're going to need to pull out somehow, some way. So we need to make sure that we want you to be successful. So obviously, if you're successful, we need to make sure that the people that are there are safe. So
do I take it from that if they put a driveway between the parking lot and the driveway for a turnaround, that would resolve it?
In my mind, that would help. I mean, if this were a bigger lot or some way for them to come in and out, that would help.
Well, this is just a small farm lot.
Sure.
That's a pretty big parking lot for something.
But that's the caveat to inviting the public to come in to buy something, is that you have to provide for them to be there safely, exit safely, et cetera. So it's not just a matter of putting up a table and saying, here, come buy this, especially if you're inviting the public in. So to Bruce's point too, if you have a fixed facility, they see where the facility is. With a table, going up the table, it could be here, it could be here, it could be here one day, and that's the problem. In my mind.
Well, if they were to put up a stand, a fixed stand, would that resolve that problem?
I believe it would help.
Well, if we could have a permitted conditional use based on a drive being constructed between the driveway and the parking lot, and a permanent stand, I think that might resolve the problem.
So the stand has to conform, and an agricultural farm stand has to conform to the structure's resolution. So it can't be in the front yard. You would need a variance. It can't be in the front yard, it would have to have a variance for the stand being in the front yard.
Could be on the side yard, right?
Could be in the side.
Okay. Well, we can do that.
As long as you have the setback requirements 15 foot from the house and 5 foot from the side property.
Plenty of space for that, so if we could, then if the board would grant, the Hawkins a conditional use permit based on a, permanent, stand for their vegetables.
You need the drawings of the stand, where it's going, a location of the lot.
Well, based on, yeah, but if we could, rather than having to come back, that's fine. I get that, but if we could get a permitted use based on an approved stand and a drive between the parking lot and the driveway, I think that would resolve the problem.
Now, under the agricultural use, they don't actually need a permit here, right?
If they're going agriculture, no, they fill out for agriculture, they apply through me, I sign off, but it's a no cost, so there's no cost whatsoever to apply for agriculture. He can put the stand, as you're speaking with the building, as long as I believe 50% of the product is coming from that land, and he has more than 5 acres, it is doable. And then it takes it off your taxes as far as it becomes an agricultural property for you.
Well, I'm already getting a property tax break because the farmer, it's a CLUD, because on 10 acres, I think it's 10 or 15 acres, he's farming it, so.
What's he need to apply for that permit? It's an application.
It's an application right in our office, yeah.
Is it giving drawings as far as the stand and all this?
It would need, if he's putting a stand, he'd need the drawings on it, and it wouldn't be through this board. The farmer's market with that stand would come directly through me. I mean, he'd need, obviously, setback requirements, things of that nature, but once you declare the whole property as agriculture, he doesn't even have to comply with.
So that sounds like we probably want to go.
Well, the only difference would be their intent is to sell products from off-site, and I don't know what that percent, if they're only allowed 50%.
That could be a hiccup. As long as they have 50% of the product that they're growing on the property, it could be declared agriculture.
Well, I think that's something that they could deal with, if we could get a conditional use permit based on the stipulations that there'd be a drive, and based on the stipulation, there'd be approved stand.
Well, so no, I mean, so I guess I'm confused. So
The difference would be whether or not they want to be able to sell more. In other words, the product that they're going to sell, more of the product would be from off-site than on-site.
Sure.
Then you would need a permit. And to get a permit, we would need to see some kind of rendering of what it's going to look like when you're done. I mean, and we won't charge you another fee. In other words, you just show us a drawing, this is what we're doing, this is where it's going to go. Mr. Ladd has to know that the setbacks are correct, side setbacks, front setbacks, where you're going to put in the second driveway or the turnaround, or how big the parking lot's going to be.
Okay, could we, so there's no miscommunication between Hawkins and the board down the road or Mr. Ladd, because obviously there's a little miscommunication up to this point. If we could get something in writing to the effect from this hearing.
Right. So the board's not going to put nothing in writing. They're telling you their directives are right now. It'd be reflected in the minutes of the meeting.
I mean, it's recorded.
It's recorded as
It'll be
well.
in the minutes.
Well, your interpretation, with all due respect, your interpretation of the outcome of the first and the second meetings that were recorded was a bit different than my interpretation, because I left the second meeting, I didn't expect.
The driveway, the other parking lot was Mr. Hawkins' idea. That was It's not our idea.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
They brought that up. So anyway, this is what I personally.
But the other parking lot, it was really a drive-through. The reason, okay, and the reason that was suggested was for safety concerns. And I think that the pictures, a fair visualization of those pictures, which were happenstance Google pictures. They weren't surreptitiously made at particular times. I think those pictures clearly demonstrate that redirecting traffic to Howe Road would not enhance the safety of anything. And I think common consideration would indicate that if somebody stopped to read a sign for redirecting traffic, the chances of an accident would be greater than if they just were driving along and saw fruit market wanted to stop in. So, and then after Hawkins commented on that, I went and spoke to my insurance agent about that, and he said, no, there's a real liability problem. So from that standpoint, it's not doable. But
Well, in coming through this board, whatever you guys decide with the building, it comes, so it would have to conform to zoning, and then he would obviously have to go to the building department as well as get his permits for that, because he'd be using it for selling things like that. He'd have to conform.
So, yeah,
So we need to
that's
see.
their intention,
Yeah.
then basically, I mean, and we can continue the hearing, so you don't have to pay another fee. But
well, okay, at the continued hearing, then if they come up with a diagram for a stand, a plan for a stand, that's been approved by the zoning department.
Well, for setbacks. So yes, I would have to look at the accessory structure to make sure this use though is gonna get approved by this board, because it's expanding the non-conforming use, and it only can be approved here by the board.
I'm sorry, so, but if they come, okay, the location, you need the location.
I need the locations, and they wanna look at it for, so as they're putting conditions on this conditional use, they have to look at the architectural features
the
at this
dimensions
point.
of the building, the
Parking,
lighting, the parking.
handicap accessibility, things of that nature.
Directional signage, directional signage.
Directional signage.
Directional, like, do you want them to come in a certain entrance and leave a certain entrance, or is it just?
Just entrance and exit.
Yeah, well, that's fine, so somebody can know where to go.
Okay. So you just want a diagram of that?
Basically.
Yes.
Okay.
And then a diagram, some description. It doesn't have to be an architectural diagram, but it does need to be something we can look at and say, yes, this is the structure. We conditionally permit that structure.
Well,
And that's what has to be
when you
built.
say structure, well, when you say built,
You're talking about a stand.
a stand, yes. So I just want to make sure that that's clear between the Hawkins brothers and the board, that what is envisioned is simply a stand. Correct, that's what's required, not, is that?
That'd be a hard foundation.
That's a building question. I mean, generally, there's, we require even for sheds, things of that nature, we require concrete, fastened down, secured down.
Well, I thought that a structure, as long as it was less than 200 square feet, didn't require any permits as long as it was properly.
As well as our agricultural permit is the same way. Once we approve it as agriculture, you win as well.
Well, but I mean, just to clarify, so. As long as it's-
Under 200 square foot would not require a zoning certificate,
Okay,
but your conditional use has to be approved by this board, so you'd need to provide drawings here.
But then you're looking at selling everything that you want to sell out of a 200 square foot building.
well, there you go against building, are we talking about building or standing? And I don't want the Hawkins boys to have to waste their time. I mean, if we come back here or they come back here and you're talking about, oh, this isn't a building, this is just a stand, and this doesn't have a foundation. I think what they could come up with would be a stand.
In which case they should go the agricultural route. I mean, in other words, because they've said that the farmer, somebody's farming it now.
Yes, they're farming now, but this potato lot, for whatever it's worth, I mean, the tie-in, they just want to do a stand, okay? There's 8 acres there, and then there's 23 acres in the rear. Now, it's all owned by the same LLC. But, so that's not a problem as such. But all of a sudden, we're shifting from a simple little fruit stand to, okay, a more formal stand, that's fine and dandy, but then I don't, this tangent off to agricultural use and something more expanded, quite frankly, I don't understand that. It seems to me that in the interest of the township and what set forth in the zoning resolutions, as far as in cooperation between the Hawkins brothers, developers and the township, if they want to do something that's beneficial for the community. And they're getting a whole lot of resistance here.
But we're looking at, you know, not just the safety, which is the one issue that we have with parking.
Well, can we put that issue to rest as far as safety concern? I mean, if it's a 5-lane highway, it has traffic anywhere from 20 to 30,000 cars a day. It's got a turn lane, visibility from the south and the north. I don't think a person could ask for better visibility. The indications are that I researched that the biggest problem is not having a turn lane. If you have a turn lane, that resolves most of the traffic problems. There's a stoplight very close by with a break in traffic, allowing people to turn in and out. So that certainly enhances safety.
No, I understand that, but even you had expressed that they may need to change the driveway so to have an adequate turnaround.
No, I said that they would be willing to do that because Mr. Ladd indicated that all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, that even though there was never a response to a letter that was written saying, if the board's going to absolutely turn this down, please let us know.
There's absolutely, so I don't speak for the board. So let's get that straight. If the board turns you down, which they have already, and this is your second time around, which you're coming with changes, when the board changes you down, the only appeal process you have, you can write all the letters in the world and complain all you want. The only appeal process in the world, once the board denies you, is the court system.
Well, I understand that.
So I mean, writing letters to me saying you don't, or to one of the trustees saying we don't agree, we don't have the authority to overturn it.
Before this hearing, the letter.
We don't have the authority to overturn it. It goes to the court.
No, the letter was to the effect that, well, here's what our thinking is. Here is the change.
And I didn't need to write a letter because you stood in the office and argued with me, and I says, look, I disagree with you. I'm the zoning inspector. That's the final say. Done.
Well, I don't recall disagreeing.
I do. I think it was recorded in the hallway.
So, if I may, we're sitting at two options for the brothers right now.
Yes.
I think what we're talking about is two different things. Everything that we're sitting here trying to approve tonight is what was laid out. We're concerned about the safety of pulling in and out of State Route 43. We're concerned about the appearance of a structure being on site, drawing attention to the business, kind of creating an established business. That's what the conditional use that you're coming here and asking us for to approve, and we've laid out the conditions. The second option is the backup, the agriculture. We deny the conditions tonight, and you come back and try for the agriculture. Now, the agriculture has its own conditions, but we don't have control over that. Agriculture comes with its own thing. You know, you're going to have 50% of the product coming from the property. The property's already big enough. So it's going to be those types of things. So I think that's where we're sitting at. And I think that's what we keep circling around is the two are getting mixed together, but they're actually two separate solutions.
So and for us, we need to see the building, parking lot, and that's stuff that you intend to do. If it goes beyond that, then you need to follow the architectural.
Because we're also concerned about, I understand you say that when I say we're looking at the way it looks to people, well, we're also looking at the property values of your neighbors, and just to have, I mean, basically what you're talking about is a continual garage set, only with fruit and vegetables. And that's what it looks like to me.
Okay,
And, so we're not, it's still a residential use. So what we're looking at is if you're going for a conditional use, it's because you're moving away from the residential use, which they can still live there, that's not being disputed, but you're moving away from a residential use to a commercial use.
correct.
And to have a daily garage sale is not going towards a
Well,
commercial
that's-
use.
That's-
Okay, that's the way I,
What-
now, there's four other voting members on the board, and if they feel different than that, then they should express it.
So in our other two options are, we continue this, and again, I'm not speaking for everybody else, speaking for me. In my mind, we're continuing this until next month, and say you give us a drawing of what we need. Or you say, I'm going to the agricultural end of it, and then we go that route. So that's our two options right now.
Okay, so when you say building, that could be a stand as long as it's an acceptable stand, an acceptable location. Okay. Well, I think I'll have to.
Are you clear on what you need for us?
So,
I think he needs to know where he needs parameters for a stand, because he doesn't want to come back here with just a table and a lean-to, and we say
Right.
that's not a stand. So you probably need more direction on what a permanent stand is. Do you need a foundation? Does it need to have 3 sides enclosed? How big or small, and all that information?
well, we're trying to come up with something attractive.
I mean, it should be attractive, I mean, it should be, everything you're selling is going to be inside this stand. I mean, even if you're standing inside and there's a shelf in front of you, but at the end of the day, you're gonna close that off and nobody can get into it. But all the product that you have is going to be in this structure.
Okay.
It's, you're not going to have tables outside, you're not going to have, you're not storing things on the basically outside the property. And that's what we're looking for. So the 200 square foot building probably is not going to be big enough. I don't know, I have no idea what you're gonna sell. The original concept what came to me was several tables.
Correct.
We're talking several, like, I'm thinking 8-foot
Right,
tables.
right. No, that's fair.
Right, so you're not putting several 8-foot tables inside of a 200 square foot building, is my point.
I got you, okay. But, okay, I think you go this direction. Well, yeah, thank you for the direction.
I mean, yes, I mean, if that's the way you wanna go, then I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue this until December, next month.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to continue this until December. Mr. Hawkins should at that point present exactly what they want to do.
No, you said it.
Okay, so do we have any more questions or comments before I call the vote?
So the other thing that you need next month would be the building, the size of it, what's going to be.
All right, some kind of drawing, make it look nice, where it's going to be, the approximate layout of the driveway, turn around, the ability for cars to go in, turn around and leave.
All the dimensions
All
on it.
everything. Handicap access,
Mr. Chairman,
everything.
what's the speed limit right there on Howe Road?
45. Oh, on Howe Road is.
I'm sorry, on Route 43.
Route 43 is 45, and Howe Road is actually 40, I think.
So if I'm correct, doesn't the National Highway Safety Council define the stopping distance at 45 miles an hour? Do you know what that number is?
I have no idea.
If I told you it was over 220 feet, would you believe me? Would you want to ask the police chief To
Well,
look in the book,
and that's what I thought we did at the last meeting.
to
quite
define
honest.
what the stopping distance is. So right now, when you typically look at fruit and vegetable stands, you are looking at an ingress and egress from two different directions, which is what you see almost 100% of the time. So whether you're coming from the north or whether you're coming from the south, you're pulling in and continuing on, whichever direction you happen to be going. You don't come to a stop or almost a stop and literally make a turn into a driveway on a road that is 45 miles an hour. Whether the road's 2 lanes or 5 lanes, it still takes so many feet in which to stop a vehicle if all of a sudden someone says, "Sweet corn, this is great," hits the brakes.
Well,
And now
understand,
everybody behind you had better be paying attention, and that's where accidents happen, and that's where the statistics have come from.
but I think what we're looking at, I'm not ending.
But right now, I don't see any real, this drawing doesn't define for me, how am I going to get in and out of here safely without having to turn around, back around, jog around? Looks like I've got work to do because you're going to put now a building in here and tables and, or a fruit and vegetable stand. So it's taking up space that's going to clog this area up even more.
And I think, you know, you're
And
not
I
seeing,
drive that road every day, so
I
I
think
have
you're
a
not,
pretty good idea how dangerous it is.
you're not seeing anything from the police chief because generally this board requires when there's a safety concern or traffic concern, that a traffic study be done. And so it doesn't fall on the responsibility of the police chief if he makes the determine if it's safe or not, because he really isn't the authority to look at as far as safety of traffic. That would come from a traffic study and a traffic engineer. And this board has asked for traffic studies in situations where they were concerned.
Well, even if it wasn't a traffic study, what does the data show as to what is your stopping distance at 45 miles an hour on a flat road? We have that in the book right now. I'm sure the police chief has that data, and I think it would be valuable information for us to know.
Well, and we asked that at the last meeting and we didn't get a response, so. But anyway, we do have a motion and a second to allow the Hawkins to come up with a design that will be safe, pulling off and on the road, enough room in the parking lot to turn around and leave safely. I'm assuming the drive is a single drive because they'd have to request a road cut. I mean, but you have the same issue with the church up the street.
Right.
You
It's
know,
an
and then
existing
the
house
next
now.
road up the street.
It's an existing house now. so
Yeah. It's existing house, you have that problem now, so, but what we're hoping for is something that's going to, that you're going to do the best you can to make it as safe as possible, to leave 43, pull into your driveway, park your car, and then turn around and leave. You know, I don't know how many people you're expecting in and out every day. I mean, I'm sure like I said, during corn season, you'll have more people. During pumpkin season, you'll have more people. You know, early in the spring, probably won't have a lot of people. But, I mean, is it all going to be local? Let's vote on the conditional first. If you'll have a roll call, please.
Bruce Diffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Bardacco,
Yes.
Sean Phillips, and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was the other question is, are we looking at, you're bringing things in from local farms or we're bringing things in from China and Brazil? And, I mean, you know, like a lot of farmers markets do that. They bring it in wherever because, you know, you're not going to be able to have produce year round if we're strictly local. So but that's what you're looking at is bringing things in from wherever you can get it. It's all going to be local. Okay. So that would be an acceptable condition. But that we'll cover next time.
With the building, with the building.
Yeah, that would be something we cover next time.
Well, this is another route to go, I mean, you know, we'll see how it goes in the next one.
And if it becomes too, I mean, if this isn't what you want, because like you're referring to a stand, then we're looking at going agricultural. pulling off, getting your core and pulling back on, that's not for this board. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments from the board? Thank you very much. You may stay or leave. We have one more application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's more pictures if you didn't. The pictures you had indicated,
This is for her for record, yes.
well, there's
If you,
Yeah, I can, I'll collect all of them.
Okay, our next application is a zoning variance application, Jared Fleet Service. Owner is W. Michael Jarrett. Address 521 Talmadge Road, Kent, Ohio. Variance request, applicant is requesting a height and area variance for a pole sign. The purpose of the area of the sign, or the proposed area of the sign is 357 square feet. The proposed height will be between 37 and 58 feet tall, depending on elevation after brush has been cleared. This is per zoning resolution section 700.13C3. Okay, go ahead and tell us what it is you want.
Well, I'm with Jared Fleet Services, facilities manager. We have a similar facility on the other end of 76, by Lodak in Seville. And it's the LED sign that we want to be able to put up for our services that we offer that at the Talmadge Road location. We work primarily on the back end of the semis, so your trailers, your reefers, your flatbeds. We help the drivers get back on the road so they can be safe with DOT as well as that their equipment stays together. So, right now, we currently support Milestone at the 521 Talmadge Road location. And now that we are the property owners, we want to expand our business of trailer repair to include cab repair, short of major overhauls. The primary focus is to be able to put up a sign that will let people know that we're there and advertise on our services.
So this is in this little triangle, that's where the sign's going?
Yes, it's on the rear of the property, north end of the property, led by overhead door.
You said this is the digital sign?
It's
Aren't those covered by state highway patrol?
so I had this go through ODOT. And I had them submit to ODOT because in our zoning resolution is any signs along I-76 needs the approval of ODOT. They contacted ODOT and there was I believe it's in your package. I don't see it right here, but there is an actual, I can pass it out if it's in there still. There's a letter from ODOT saying that there is no permit required.
I could forward it.
for ODOT,
Hold on.
if we were to be dealing with it, purchase off premise, we were to be advertising for Ford or for Hawkins, a business that was on our property, we would have to expense on our proposal. Being that we're on premise sign, they would have to.
I thought because it was down, this is my identification, I thought because it was facing a highway, you could only have so much of a display up, or it had to be up for so many minutes or seconds or whatever.
That's exactly what I thought. So I had them go to ODOT and she said there's no permit required. So and she put it as writing in an email back to us, so.
It was online, I read it.
Yeah,
It
just,
wasn't much
okay.
of an answer.
No, it wasn't. No, but she put her name to it, so, you know.
You know,
I learned something every day.
being that we already have a digital sign for Seville, we did go through the same events. And, we can't, we don't put up live action video, won't play the Browns, won't play the Indians. Just because we don't want to have distraction to traffic. Likewise, when we do our transitions from one hazard to the next, it's not going to be flashy. It's more just a off type of thing.
It's been also, I did one of those, but I know there were all kinds of, like, you couldn't have smoking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember.
Exactly.
Okay, anyway.
I'm with you. I remember we had one come in, we wanted to know if the police chief could use it.
Yeah.
Put a banner alerts on it.
Anyway,
None of that,
Well, you know,
none of that ever happened, but I just remember it.
yeah.
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that's what we're asking for. Variance.
Okay, so, let's start with the height. This is.
The height will be determined, once we get the, land cleared and we can get a pole truck in there to be able to put a sign up. As you're driving, we want to be within the, normal vision of your driving. We don't want you to look it up, to be reading it, or we want you to look down. So we're anticipating it's going to be about 25 to 30 feet to the bottom of the sign, and then it's another 12, 13 feet to the top.
They were overall height 35 feet. On the drawing, right?
Right. 33 feet to the bottom of the sign.
Yeah. Well, it's 35 to 35, isn't it?
This one says 30.
Yeah, it does say 35
This one says 35 at the top.
overall height.
Okay.
Well,
Is this going to be a fruit stand? No, I'm just kidding.
like I said, we're anticipating it's going to be someplace in that 30, 35 foot range.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
Give us a ballpark.
So not
When,
just,
when you're coming north on I-76, you're actually over the overpass, so you really don't get that high, because you're already up high.
That's a good
However-
statement.
However, when you're coming south, you're going down, you're at a lower elevation, so we gotta find that.
So if we said 35 feet overall, would that be comfortable?
To the top of the sign?
Yeah, that's what this shows, is 35 feet to the top.
not to exceed 35 feet, then.
I'd like to give myself a little more variance than that.
And that would be off of the current grade, we're not gonna bring in
No.
20, 30 feet of dirt, so we get the sign.
That's a good guess. Yeah. What did they say, the ball was did?
We don't wanna create a bathtub for a lot either.
And if you guys were entertaining it, I would make, motion that you put conditions on it that it goes through, obviously, zoning department from the standpoint that structural calculations, building department, as well as any other authority, like ODOT comes back and says, hey, you can't do that now. I would put conditions on it that you're approving it based off of everybody else's approval. as well.
That email part of the record, right? So,
Yes.
Sway.
Yep.
So what would be your maximum overall height?
I just said.
I didn't get an answer.
I didn't either.
I don't think we'd go over 50 feet.
Not over 50 feet. How high is the target sign?
I knew you'd ask that.
I was going to ask him.
Yeah, I don't have that off the top. I don't know that off the top.
Can we match that? Is that?
We can. I'd have to look it up and,
Which sign is this?
Aero tarp systems
Okay,
across.
yeah.
Aero
Yeah.
tarp.
Not to exceed that.
Okay, so.
I mean, because it's visible from both directions. And they're
I have to. look
basically
that
just on the
up.
other side of the highway from you.
Yeah, and Mr. Jared, my boss, he's very concerned about ensuring that, a corporate look is established, not only for ourselves, but for the township. So, to have signs that are competing height,
Yeah.
that's not what we're looking for.
We're competing in size. I still have a problem with the sheer size of this sign. It looks like a billboard. It's huge.
It's more to do with the speed that the traffic's moving at, and how fast they're going to be going. We have to have a fairly large sign to be able to present images and words that will dictate our services. Otherwise, you might see the letter, but it won't be legible, 75, 65%.
We're just going from 32 square feet to 357, almost 10 times the size of our allowance.
Understand, I think your 32 square foot is for a monument sign that sits on the side of the road within 10 to 12 feet of the road that people are passing by to say, that's the business name.
Do we not have regulations on the sizes?
We don't, so the trustees had before me, they were pretty much taking out all pole signs. It was just a provision along I-76 that was still in there that I used.
I'm sure that's for a look, because if you go through places like Hudson, they don't allow any pole signs at all. They
Right,
want everything online.
The trustees
So-
with Mesner had pulled all the information out of that, and then, so but they still have the right to come in and seek a variance. So, but yeah, 32 square foot is the maximum.
So that's what it's in there for, so going from monument signs and not wanting pole signs to one that's, I'm sorry, it's a big concern, it's huge. As soon as one goes in, everybody along the highway in Brimfield is gonna be like, I want one the same size. And then we've got pole signs all along the highway, so there's gotta be a happy medium with the size that you're presenting here, it's just huge, I'm real concerned about it.
Well, I think if you look at the signs, the billboards that are on the sign, our sign is 28 feet, 29 feet wide. Their sign, the other billboard signs that you're looking at are almost 40 feet long.
Those are put up by the state, so we don't have control over that, those are state right away. Interstate.
Those are other advertisers.
I think there was what you guys are addressing, and I do remember this because it was just coming in back in 2018. I think it was Meyer and Menards wanted signs, and then I think there was signs for, the big one was the Skipper Group property with McDonald's. And there was a lot of contention about a pole sign there, and that's when everything, prior to me coming, that was all pulled out of the code because they didn't want the pole signs anymore. The only thing that was left in there was the provision for ODOT along poles with I-76, and I don't know if that was left in there intentionally for existing signs, if you got to replace them or do something with, but maximum in our sign code is 32 square foot, 6 foot high.
And I think, the Menard sign, that they actually wanted to put it on the Darkville property.
Correct. Right.
So what is your practical difficulty for requesting variance? Well, generally speaking, a variance requires a practical difficulty.
Well,
In other words, people can't find you, you don't have any business because they can't see your business alongside the road, that kind of thing.
yes, we want to be able to pull in traffic off of I-76. And we have truckers traveling interstate all the time that need service, and we want to get it attractive. And without a sign, out on 76, we can gain that momentum to bring in additional business.
With your current signage. You can't put something on the side of the building, or, I mean, I just don't got options.
Going by, highway speeds, unless you know it's there.
No, I understand,
So
I understand.
I'm curious because your property sits on the opposite side of the freeway, so they would, if they're coming 76 going east, they pass you and have to get off at 43? Is that what you're?
That's the next exit is, this is top exit, this right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm okay with the sign, I'm just not, like you said, I'm kind of concerned about the size. How much is it feasible to match the sign across the road? The size and the height?
Of course, it's feasible,
I mean, I guess that serves your purpose, I mean, obviously you want bigger and better and all that, but.
we want bigger and better so that we can advertise your services, like with Arrow right across the street, you get a name, and they're, in the park, and when we put out their fleet services, we can't advertise the different services that we have, whether it be DOT inspections, whether it be repair torn roofs or whatever service that is needed. We need to be able to put that out there to be able to let the public know where they're going.
And you got like Walmart. Again, I don't know, that's pretty good size sign too.
I think that is,
I can't remember whether.
With, with Walmart, the Lowe's site is also in their general area. They're way up there, but they're nationally known names.
Sure, I understand.
I don't know if you know what Jared does, and that's why I let off with what we do. So, we'd like to, establish our name in the community and really be able to say we're at both ends of 76. We have more, on the east as well.
I personally don't have a problem, again, with the sign. I would just like to see it match the size of what's existing around there. But signs are inevitable, and I get that, but bigger and better isn't. Because obviously, if you go big, the next one comes in even bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm concerned about not exceeding what's already permitted. So, but of course, we don't have the information.
Yeah, I don't have that, but I could get it.
For digital sign that we want to put, we would need size so that we can display the content so that it can be legible to the when you're passing by the sign, you have about 3 to 5 seconds to be able to.
Well, I understand you don't want something so small that people are squinting and trying to make it out. But I'm again, I have to agree that it is a pretty good size sign. I don't know.
Especially like that, obviously this may not be just, but that sign at night, illuminated or your eyes coming down the road, it's gonna be a bright sign.
Well, the signs are designed so that as the sun goes down, I was going to provide more pictures of our current sign out of Seville, but I just don't think that it's again, another Google shot of it. This is our sign out of Seville. It's the same size sign. It's off 76. It's only one lens statement on the side, so.
It's not as big as the water tower.
I've seen it.
Have you seen the sign in Seville?
Yeah.
What is your impression to begin with?
Well, it's big, I can tell you. You can see it, there's, just out there, it looks okay. Over here, it's gonna make a big difference.
So we're looking at what, 20 foot by
It's 20 feet,
9.5?
20 feet wide, I suppose.
Yeah, you're looking at 325 square foot variance. Sorry.
Can we get the height and sizes of the existing signs? I mean, not tonight, but,
Oh, for the other business,
yeah.
for Tarpco or,
Well, for Tarpco and even Walmart. I mean, Walmart's probably the biggest sign over there, I think.
yeah, I could pull them.
So we can continue this until next month.
But
You
sure.
do have the first thing coming back next month.
Well, we're hoping to get the purchase order in before the end of the year here. I guess, coming up from the south, you have other billboards, full-size billboards that are right alongside the road, and, as far as size goes, we are not the size of those are.
Again, we don't regulate those. Those are interstate highway, those are regulated by a township.
And like I said, and he's right, that, we're opening precedents, because if we approve this, it comes in, as long as we've been on this board, they come in bigger and bigger and bigger, everybody wants a bigger sign. So I would personally like to see something more in line with what's existing out there, or existing in the township as far as size. So that's my opinion.
I guess my counterpoint would be, for what we're doing, I don't think it's gonna serve justice to the sign, and that, for what we're trying to achieve.
Well, I guess, we can either vote to approve it or not, or we can vote to continue it if you're agreeable.
Well,
I know.
I don't want it to be shot, I want to be able to take that positive message from the board.
Because really, I'd like to find out the height of the existing signs, the size of the existing signs in the area, and they can research that and have it for us at the next meeting. And give us a better idea.
Yeah, you probably want to look and see if, any of these sizes are conducive to what you guys need to do, or what you're trying to advertise.
What absolutely is mandatory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to have everything in detail, or can it just be your name and then we do this and we do this? I don't know. I don't know how much writing is involved if it's.
Well, there's a lot of graphics as well as writing. The fewer words, the better your messages.
Especially 55 miles an hour.
I'm gonna say 55.
That's 65.
I think it's 70 in that area, isn't it?
70 until 43.
Yeah,
And it goes
right. That is 65 to 40.
all the time.
75.
Trying to be favorable.
So then we do a motion, or?
I make a motion that we continue this till next month, when we can determine the existing sizes of the signs that are out there, and see if they're conducive to make those sizes work.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue until allow the zoning department enough time to answer the questions. We have a roll call, please.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Baraco,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Poppins.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your time.
When is the next meeting?
December 15th at 7 o'clock.
You still have 2 weeks to order it.
Well, just lead time thing.
I mean, I guess,
All right.
options might be in order.
Yeah,
You,
that's correct. That's what I've been writing.
You might come back and find out.
Yeah,
that
it is.
The smaller sign will work good for you.
So where does the township line end?
As far as down 18 or?
76.
Where town, you mean from the township to townage?
Yes. Brimfield Township, where does that end?
And townage starts.
On 18, it starts it's going to be past Menards, just past
Okay,
Menards.
just past where it's tore up right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just on the other side of just Cricket, there's an open land, and then they start that housing development. That's the line, that open area in the houses.
And on
But you're
70
talking about on 76
He's talking about
itself.
And on 76, it's,
It's further down, so
On
it's
76,
past.
it's roughly between the two exits. There's a,
yeah.
when you
You're
come up
right.
from 18, you're going up the hill, and roughly where the hill peaks is where the township line.
there's a, ODOT put a sign up that indicates travel time and distance to, it's real close to that sign.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need that picture?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, if you want to take it.
Unless you want to enter it into the,
You can put it in the record.
Yeah, I can put it in the record if you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
I have to stand.
All right, do you have anything for the good of the order?
Brimfield signs are going up, so you're gonna see them, on 43, they're working on them, they're stoning them right now. Those are our entrance signs. We, worked on easements from the property owners. So we have one on the corner of 43 and Malloy, one at the high school, one on 18 by the K9 is gonna be going up. We have some tree removal there, and the other side on 18, the sign's gonna be moved down just a little bit further, closer to the line. We're gonna remove a dead tree there as well, but they're nice signs. It's gonna be very,
I was gonna say, I seen what was going on by the high school anyway.
yeah,
I pass that every morning.
it's gonna look sharp.
Did you get your Italian restaurant yet?
He's not helping.
I know.
Had a lot of people asking about that, but
Yeah.
Do they have any more people coming in yet? Do they open lots?
Well, we have that Ken Tire, we gave them, we
yeah, that's.
followed the enterprise zone, and Ken Tire is huge.
That's good.
Well, I meant in that, the 8 or 9 lots next to.
Next to Aldi's.
Aldi's is the only one right now that's.
So far, the only one.
We have stuff in the works, but nothing that we could speak of until they commit.
Got it.
And then one more manufacturing business in the back that we're working a deal with, trying to.
Okay, very good.
But that, I think, between the two we just got with Hamrick
Yeah,
and Kenna, that brings over 400 jobs to the area. And then there's, we had almost 700 already. So with DeHoff's development down there, we're at like between 1,100 and 1,200 jobs already without the other stuff coming in.
Is anybody actually working those jobs?
It's hard to get the fast food. It's hard to get the fast food ones. The manufacturing, yes, they're doing very, very well. And they're looking for housing in the area. So that's always tough because there's not a lot on the market right now. So.
well, they have all those houses that Pulte's put up sold.
Yeah, those are expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it just went up more too, I mean,
And I see they're gonna put up a traffic light, but I would have thought they'd put that traffic light at the main entrance to that housing development, not the one closest to the church.
yeah, well, they were thinking about putting a circle there and then they didn't.
Okay. All right, so our next meeting is December 15th, 7 o'clock. And other than that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. We have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Evenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling, Vince Bardacco,
Yes.
Sean Phillips, and Clayton Bach.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Adjourn.
Happy
Everybody,
Thanksgiving.
Merry Thanksgiving.